Let me ask you a question most people avoid. If confidence was something you could build, like a muscle, like a habit, would you start today? Because here's the brutal truth no one ever told you. Confidence is not a gift. It's not reserved for extroverts or native speakers. It's a neural pattern, a script your brain runs, one sentence at a time. And right now, that script might be working against you. You think you're shy? Maybe. But what if you're just repeating fear every day, in silence? In this video, we're going to explore how your brain learns fear and how it can just as powerfully learn confidence. Through real psychological insight, practical daily rituals, and emotional storytelling, you'll discover how something as simple as reading a graded English story can change your identity forever. And yes, this will help you learn English, but more than that, it will help you find your voice. This is not about fake motivation or perfect grammar. This is about using English as a tool to rewire the way you show up in life. So put your headphones in, listen closely, and stay with me, because what you're about to learn might finally give you the one thing you've been waiting for: permission to become who you were always meant to be. He always believed confidence was something people were born with, like eye color or height. Some had it, some didn't. That was the lie he repeated to himself for years. "I'm just not a confident person," he'd whisper under his breath every time he failed to speak up in English. But one night, something clicked. He wasn't born insecure. He was simply rehearsing fear daily. And if fear could be rehearsed, then confidence could be trained. Imagine telling yourself every morning, "I can't do this." Now imagine how your brain reacts after hearing it 300 days in a row. It starts believing it. That's not magic. That's neural programming. The brain strengthens whatever you repeat, hesitation or boldness. So when he finally stood in front of the mirror and whispered, "I can learn this," for the first time it wasn't just a sentence. It was the beginning of new wiring. Let's break this down simply. Your brain isn't judging your worth, it's saving data. If every English attempt is followed by silence, avoidance, or self-criticism, then your brain stores that as speaking is unsafe. Oh, but if you say one phrase aloud, like "today I speak," and repeat it with courage, your brain starts rewriting the pattern, not with magic, with repetition. There was one evening, quiet and ordinary, when he stopped mid-sentence during practice, and instead of saying, "I sound stupid," he said something else. "I'm practicing." That's growth. That moment changed everything. For the first time, he wasn't rehearsing fear. He was rehearsing courage. That's when the loop started to break. And every day after, he became less of a prisoner in his own voice. You're not shy. You've just been conditioning your brain with phrases of insecurity. What if they laugh? What if I forget the word? Those are emotional grooves in your mind. But grooves can be reshaped. All you need is a different emotional message. Try this now. Close your eyes and say, "My voice matters, even if I'm still learning." Feel the shift? Confidence is not noise. It's not volume. It's permission. Permission to say one sentence, even if your heart is racing. Permission to speak badly, but still speak. That's how you train your brain. Not with perfection, but with participation. If you write one English sentence today and read it slowly, with intention, your brain will notice. It will say, maybe this is who we are now. People think transformation begins when you feel ready, but neuroscience says otherwise. It begins when you act before you feel ready. One girl once wrote this line in her journal, "I speak English bravely. At first it felt fake, but after 10 days of repeating it aloud, something strange happened. She stopped cringing. Her brain started believing her voice. It's not fake confidence, it's neural design. If your brain learns through what you repeat, then every English sentence you say is more than practice. It's identity work. So tonight, write one line you want your brain to believe. Something simple, something you need to believe. Then stand up, breathe, and say it aloud, because the moment you stop repeating fear is the moment you begin to repeat strength. If you really want to stay insecure forever, There's a simple recipe. Wait until you feel confident before you speak. That's it. Keep telling yourself, not today, maybe tomorrow I'll feel ready. And watch how the days turn into years. Fluency doesn't wait for confidence. Confidence is built in the act of speaking. If you want to stay stuck, keep waiting. But if you want change, speak now, speak afraid. Here's another great way to stay insecure. Focus only on your mistakes. After every English conversation, replay everything you did wrong. Obsess over the word you forgot. Ignore the sentence you said perfectly. Make your brain believe that one mistake defines your whole identity. This habit will poison your confidence slowly, like a silent leak in your self-esteem. Want to grow? Celebrate the tiny win instead. If social anxiety is your goal, here's the trick. Imagine that every person listening to you is secretly judging you. Believe that they're laughing in their heads. Convince yourself that everyone notices your accent and hates it. This is how you create fear in your body before you even speak. But if you want to feel safe, try this instead. Imagine just one friendly face, someone who wants to understand you. Let that become your anchor. Want to make sure your brain keeps sabotaging your progress? Only study English passively. Watch videos silently. Read texts but never speak. Take notes but never open your mouth. This way your voice becomes a stranger to your brain, and when the moment comes to talk, your words will hide. If you want to break this loop, pick a graded reader and speak out loud. Every sentence, every page. Make your voice real. Another good way to lock yourself in insecurity. Compare your English to someone who's been practicing for 10 years. Scroll through perfect videos on social media and think, I'll never sound like that. Ignore the fact that they started just like you, awkward, scared, broken. If you want freedom, compare yourself only to who you were last month. Progress isn't public, it's personal. Still want to stay stuck? Try hiding. Avoid joining conversations. Say, I'm just listening. Smile, nod, but never contribute. Then wonder why no one remembers you. This is the invisibility trap. It feels safe, but it steals your voice. If you want to be seen, you have to be heard, even if your sentence is short, even if your grammar isn't perfect. Say something. Let the world know you exist. To maintain low self-esteem, here's a powerful technique. Criticize yourself before anyone else can. Call yourself stupid in your head. Laugh at your own accent. Use your voice as a weapon against yourself. It works. You'll never grow like that. But if you want change, try this. Say one kind sentence to yourself in English, out loud, every morning. It will feel fake at first. Then it will feel familiar. Then it will feel true. And finally, the best way to stay small is to treat English like a school subject, not like your future. Memorize, cram, check the box, but don't live it. Don't speak it. Don't feel it. That's how you stay insecure forever. But you're not here for that, are you? Deep down, something in you wants more. And the real practice begins when you stop waiting to feel ready. She used to speak so softly that people leaned forward just to hear her. In meetings, at cafes, even with friends, her voice barely crossed the air. Not because she lacked words, but because her brain was still in survival mode. Every sentence felt like a risk. Every word felt like exposure. But what nobody saw was what she was carrying inside, a storm of thoughts, a desire to be heard, and a deep fear of being wrong. Everything changed the day she found a graded reader at a second-hand bookshop. It wasn't magic. It was a small, simple English story with short sentences and big meaning. For the first time, she read something in English and understood it completely, without translation, without stress. That moment gave her something she hadn't felt in years. Success. Tiny, but real. She started reading one page a day, and after each page, she'd whisper a sentence out loud. At first, it felt mechanical, robotic, but then something shifted. Her brain started connecting that action with pleasure, with safety. One page, one success, one hit of dopamine. That's how the confidence loop began. Quietly, naturally, without trying to be perfect. One afternoon she paused while reading and smiled. "I understood everything," she said out loud. Her own voice surprised her. Calm, steady, unapologetic. She highlighted a sentence she loved and repeated it with emotion. She believed she could change. That's when she realized this wasn't just language learning. It was emotional rewiring. The page was her mirror. She began imitating the characters from the stories, their courage, their tone, their rhythm. When a character said, "I'm not afraid anymore," she said it too, not just with her mouth, but with her chest. That line echoed in her body for days. Slowly, her voice started to sound like someone who believed what she was saying. She wasn't performing. She was transforming. Every evening she picked one sentence from the book and wrote it in her journal. Then she'd write her own version of it. He started again. Became "I am starting again." She finally spoke the truth. Became "I will speak, even if my voice shakes." The stories gave her permission. The repetition gave her proof. Her brain was no longer practicing fear. It was practicing fluency. By week 4, something unusual happened. In a group conversation, she interrupted, gently, clearly. "Can I say something?" Everyone turned to her. She didn't panic. She didn't freeze. She spoke her sentence with grace. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. And afterwards, someone said, "Your English sounds really confident." She didn't even realize it. That's the thing about internal change. Others notice before you do. And it all started with one graded reader. Not a textbook, not a grammar course, a simple story that met her where she was and invited her to go further. That book became her training ground, her voice gym, her mirror, and as her confidence grew, her English grew. Not in complexity, in presence, and that presence would lead her somewhere unexpected. The brain is a strange machine. It doesn't always care about what's right. It cares about what's familiar. If you repeat fear every day, your brain starts to feel safe in fear. If you repeat silence, your brain thinks silence is smart. That's why so many learners feel blocked, not because they're not capable, but because their brain is protecting an old pattern. Confidence doesn't start with talent. It starts with exposure. When you read the same English paragraph twice, something changes. The first time feels heavy. You stumble. You second guess. But the second time, your voice softens. Your rhythm improves. Your brain says, "Hey, I've seen this before." That's the familiarity advantage. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with repetition. If you want your brain to trust English, show it the same sentence more than once. Confidence grows when the material feels slightly below your level, not above. Why? Because the brain needs to feel emotionally safe. If the challenge is too hard, it activates your survival system. But if it's just a little bit easier than your current level, it creates a quick win. And quick wins change chemistry. That's why graded readers work. They build safety, and safety builds confidence. But when you speak under pressure, job interview, phone call, fast conversation, your brain switches to threat mode. It floods with adrenaline. You freeze. Not because you don't know what to say, but because your brain believes you're in danger. This is called the fear conditioning loop. To break it, you must retrain the response. Before you speak, breathe slowly. 3 deep breaths, no grammar, no stress, just breath. This rewires the trigger. The good news? Confidence is not about being fearless. It's about becoming desensitized to the fear. Think of a firefighter. He still feels the heat, but he trains in controlled situations. That's what English learners must do. Practice speaking in low-pressure moments, in the mirror, while walking, whispering stories, repeating lines. It's not about drama, it's about daily exposure. You can't expect to be fluent in chaos if you never trained in calm. So train in calm, speak one easy sentence every day, something simple, something real. I'm getting better every day. Say it while making coffee. Say it in the shower. That line is not just for your English, it's for your identity. Each time you say it, the fear loses 1 drop of power. Let's say you read 1 graded reader chapter per week. You revisit the same lines 3 times. You highlight the words you understand. You read them aloud, slowly, while breathing. That's not boring. That's brain training. And the brain loves patterns. The more it sees the same words, the more it trusts them. And the more it trusts them, the more it lets you speak without panic. So, if you've ever wondered why you feel confident at home but freeze in conversation, now you know. It's not your vocabulary, it's your emotional conditioning. You've practiced fluency in silence and fear in real life, but that can change. You can recondition your confidence, 1 page at a time, 1 sentence at a time, 1 safe repetition at a time. Did you enjoy the content and it made a difference for you? Click on Super Thanks and support our work. True confidence doesn't walk into the room and demand attention. It walks in and gives itself permission to exist. That's the shift most people never realize. You don't need a loud voice. You need a voice that believes it's allowed to be here, mistakes and all. When you say a sentence in English, you're not just sharing information, you're declaring presence. I'm here, I'm learning, I belong. That's power. Confidence means allowing yourself to take space without apology. Think about how often you shrink. You say less than you want. You laugh to hide discomfort. You nod instead of speaking. But today, practice this one line. My voice belongs here. Say it slowly. Breathe with it. You're not asking for permission from the world. You're giving it to yourself, and here's the secret. True confidence allows imperfection. The world trains us to chase flawless speech, perfect pronunciation, 0 mistakes. But real growth starts when you say something imperfect and still feel proud. Say this now out loud. I'm still learning, and that's okay. That sentence alone can heal years of fear. Confidence isn't grammar, it's emotional permission. Most people wait for the right moment to feel confident. But the real shift happens when you give yourself permission to begin again, every single day. You miss a practice? Start again. You made mistakes yesterday? Start again. You felt embarrassed in conversation? Start again. Confidence isn't built in intensity. It's built in continuity, quiet, consistent permission to continue. Here's a powerful daily ritual. Repeat the same English sentence each morning, the one that connects to your future self. Example: today, I speak clearly and calmly. You don't need 100 sentences. You need one that sticks. Read it aloud, feel the words. Not just in your mouth, in your identity. Let that sentence become your ritual of self-permission. English can become your tool for transformation. Not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. Every time you speak, you're building a new version of yourself, your English self. And maybe, just maybe, that version is stronger, braver, and more grounded than the one who stayed silent for years. Describe her. Who is she? What does she believe? Try this today. Write 2 English sentences describing who you're becoming, not who you were, not who people expect, who you are becoming. For example, I am a calm English speaker. I give myself space to grow. These aren't just sentences, they're seeds, and your brain grows whatever you plant, especially when you say it daily. The real shift happens when English stops being something you study and becomes a place where you exist fully. When your voice no longer needs approval to be valid. When your speech doesn't chase perfection but presence. That's the existential confidence most people never find, because they're too busy trying to sound good instead of sound true. There's a moment, silent and invisible, when your brain finally says, "This is easy now." It doesn't announce it. It doesn't celebrate. It just allows fluency to happen. That's what graded readers do. They create a fluency priming loop. When input is simple, your brain relaxes. And when your brain relaxes, your emotional capacity expands. Less mental tension, more vocal freedom. That's neuroscience. Think of this. Every time you read and listen to the same story, your brain isn't just understanding words, it's absorbing rhythm, tone, cadence, emotion. It's not learning like a student, it's absorbing like a child. When you listen to the audio of a graded reader while reading the text, something powerful happens. Pacing becomes familiar. Confidence lives in that rhythm. There's a name for this in psychology, the semantic clarity effect. When your brain understands something completely, it releases reward chemicals, dopamine, calm, even a small sentence. She opened the door slowly, if fully understood, creates a micro-victory. That's why you should highlight every word you know 100%. Don't chase the unknown. Strengthen the known. Every time you read with clarity, your brain builds new connections. Imagine this. You understand a story on Monday. On Wednesday, you understand it faster. By Friday, you read it aloud. By week 2, you're speaking part of it from memory. That's not luck. That's compounding comprehension. You're not just learning English, you're building identity. I am someone who understands. The biggest enemy of fluency is overload. Trying to read above your level, forcing big words, pretending to be advanced, but real transformation comes from safety, from mastering the basics until your brain says, I know this, I own this. Then you rise, not from pressure, from peace. That's how graded readers reprogram fear. They make fluency feel safe. Do this today. Choose one graded reader. Read for 5 minutes. Choose a paragraph that feels easy. Read it aloud. Then listen to the audio while reading again. Then pause and summarize what you read in your own words. Not complicated, just real. She was walking home when the rain started. That's how you rewire confidence. Not with noise, but with simplicity. You don't need to read 10 books. You need to repeat one book 10 times because each repetition builds a deeper groove in the brain, and that groove becomes your new default. When someone says, tell me a story, your mind doesn't panic. It remembers, it retrieves, it flows. Not because you memorized, but because you felt safe enough to absorb. If you commit to just 5 minutes a day with the same story for 30 days, your identity will shift, the same way a seed becomes a tree, not with noise, but with daily light. Your confidence won't scream. It will rise, quietly, steadily, sentence by sentence, until one day you'll speak and realize, wait. That sounded natural, and it will be. Something curious happens when you start changing from the inside. People feel it before you do. Your voice, once shaky, apologetic, begins to carry more weight. Not louder, not dramatic, just steady, clear. And even if your vocabulary is simple, your presence becomes strong. That's the tone shift. It's when people start listening to you differently, not because of the words, but because of the energy behind them. It often starts with posture. You stand taller without trying. You read a sentence aloud, but now you're not slouched or small. You're grounded, calm. You may not notice it, but your brain does. Confidence shows up in the spine before it reaches the mouth. Want to test this? Read one line from your graded reader while standing tall. Feel the difference? That's alignment, physical and emotional. Then comes the social feedback loop. Someone says, you're sounding more fluent lately. You smile politely, but deep down, your brain lights up. It says, see, we're doing it. That external validation begins to strengthen your new identity. And slowly, you stop waiting for proof. You become the proof. The world reflects what you rehearse. It's not just about language. It's about expansion. You start doing things you used to avoid, saying yes to opportunities, volunteering to speak, starting small conversations, sending voice notes. Each micro-action opens a new door. Confidence becomes movement, and movement creates momentum. Want to try? Say yes to one English interaction today. A message, a comment, a question. Keep it small. But say yes. Sometimes the transformation is so subtle you don't even see it, but others do. They start asking you for help. They listen more. They speak to you with respect. Not because your English is perfect, but because your energy has changed. You're no longer hiding. You're showing up. And when people notice your growth, it reinforces your belief that you can grow. Remember that English isn't just a tool for connection. It's also a mirror. As your confidence grows, your reflection changes. You walk into rooms with more presence, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're no longer trying to disappear. The fear that once owned your voice now watches from a distance, quieter every day. Here's something practical. Choose one simple sentence that reflects this new version of you. I speak clearly. I belong in this room. My English has value. Say it in front of the mirror each morning. Your tone will begin to shift. Not overnight, but gradually, like a dimmer switch turning up the light, 1 degree at a time. What's powerful is that this change lasts. It's not fake confidence, it's earned. It's built from repetition, self-trust, and tiny wins. And as your voice grows stronger, your life expands with it. New people, new chances, new chapters. And that's the beauty of inner transformation. It always writes outer stories. Why wasn't I confident? He asked himself that one night while brushing his teeth, staring into the mirror. The answer came not from shame, but from clarity. Because his brain had been rehearsing fear, not ability, doubt, not direction. Every day he had practiced silence, hesitation, avoidance, and called it personality. But confidence, he now realized, wasn't something you wait for. It's something you teach your brain, one sentence at a time. What changed me? He could feel it now. It wasn't just the vocabulary or pronunciation. It was something deeper, the daily repetition of calm, safe, successful moments in English. A 20-second voice note, a conversation with a kind stranger, a paragraph read aloud with intention, repetition, plus emotional safety, plus activation. That's what rewired the circuits, not motivation, not luck, not even talent. Just simple, daily action. Who am I becoming? He paused before answering. Because the old version of him, the one who froze in silence, who doubted every word, was fading. Slowly, respectfully, but fading. I'm becoming someone whose confidence fuels their fluency, not the other way around. He whispered that sentence, then said it again, louder than again, as if he were carving a new identity into the walls of his mind. What happens next? That was the most beautiful part. There was no finish line, no final exam. Confidence was now a lifestyle, a habit, something he brought into every space, not as noise, but as presence. He knew that his brain would still try to return to the old patterns sometimes, doubt, fear, hesitation. But now he had new tools, new stories, and one powerful habit: speak first, doubt later. So he started recording daily voice notes, not for social media, for himself. 60 seconds of truth, spoken out loud, every day. No script, no pressure, just reflection. Some days it was messy, other days beautiful. But every day his voice became more familiar to his own ears. And that changed everything. The voice in his head stopped judging and started cheering. He kept a little notebook too, just one sentence per day. I handled that meeting with courage. I made a phone call in English. I paused, but I didn't give up. That journal wasn't just about practice. It was proof that change was happening, even on the days when it felt invisible, because the brain forgets your wins. But writing them makes them real. He started helping others too, sharing the method, the mistakes, the slow, quiet journey of building confidence like a house, brick by brick. And as he taught, he realized the old him would have never done this. He would have stayed silent, invisible. But now he spoke with certainty, not because he had all the words, but because he finally believed, I belong in this conversation. And that's what confidence really is. Not a talent, not a gift, a habit, a new identity, rehearsed daily until your brain stops asking for permission, until your voice feels like home, until one day, without even noticing, you walk into a room, speak your truth, and feel no fear at all. Now that you've seen how confidence is built, sentence by sentence, repetition by repetition, it's your turn to act. Ask yourself, how often have I let fear speak for me? How many opportunities have I lost because I waited to feel ready? The truth is, Your brain learns what you practice, not what you hope for. Think about your English. Every sentence you repeat, every page you read aloud, every conversation you risk. It's not just language practice. It's a rehearsal for courage. Ask yourself, which small action can I take today that my future confident self will thank me for? Maybe it's a 5-minute voice note, a sentence in the mirror, or joining a conversation you've been avoiding. Now think bigger. What doors could open if fear stopped deciding for you? How would your life change if your brain believed you were capable, even before you proved it to anyone else? Confidence is contagious. People notice before you do. Speak, act, show up. Let the world reflect back the courage you're cultivating inside. English is more than words. It's a tool for transformation, a key that unlocks opportunities, relationships, and self-trust. Every time you practice, you're not just improving pronunciation or grammar, you're reshaping your identity, teaching your brain that you can. And that's the real power. So start now. Record a daily voice note. Read one page aloud. Speak that sentence you've been avoiding. And when you feel the shift, share your journey. Comment below. What's the first courageous thing you will do in English today? Subscribe, like, and hit notifications to keep building this new identity, because your brain, your voice, and your life are ready for it.